Hey everybody, welcome back to the Jim Feist Pro Football Handicapping Show here at DeMarco's Pizzeria and Wine Bar, located 9785 West Charleston Boulevard. Here on a beautiful day in Las Vegas on the patio with a bunch of Hall of Fame guys on the panel. My name is Tommy Canale. I'll be the host for the show. But Jim, we were off last week, so I have a question for you because I'm thinking about it. This is Super Bowl 60. I'm not 60 years old, so obviously I haven't seen them all. So I'm asking you, have you seen all the Super Bowls?
Yes. I've been to 11 and I've seen all 60. Well, this week will be numbers. I've seen 59. Yes. What other nasty question do you have?
What's your favorite Super Bowl in the past?
One I lost this one.
Okay.
It was the one. It was. No, you have a story.
I have a story?
Yeah, it was 2007 where
Indianapolis played the Bears.
This is a story, and there was another one in Tampa where I actually got pneumonia and I saw the Super Bowl in the hospital. But you have a hospital story as well, which is a little bit more dramatic.
It is dramatic. Do we want to tell it?
At least give us 1 minute version.
The reason I know about Super Bowl in 2007 is the day that I was rushed into emergency surgery after I had my first surgery to remove a tumor for colon cancer, and then spent the next 6 weeks in the hospital and 16 days with no food, no water, ice chips, and was given a 3% chance to live. That's the short version, and here I am.
Wow.
Thank you.
And you just came back from a whirlwind tour about your book?
Well, I went back to Clear Lake to Surf Ballroom and did 3 book presentations, and then had on Sunday produced my own show called Through Their Eyes, and the response was overwhelming. It's still a little emotional. It's going to take a long time for me to let it sink in what happened when I was there for 5 days. But next Monday, right here on the patio at 6:30, I'm going to do a book presentation. If you guys all want to come, it's free. All you have to do is let me know, and I'll RSVP you. Albert will be here. He's bringing me back to do it for a second time. So Monday, 6:30, I'll be doing it here in front of everyone.
We should tell everybody what it's about.
Well, the book is called Shadows Over Clear Lake, the tragic tale of the 1959 Winter Dance Party. It's a story about the day the music died, the plane crash that killed Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, and the Big Bopper. So I wrote a book about it, been doing speaking engagements across, and we're going to continue to do that. And I'm very happy about the response. But
and it's a great book.
Thank you. Let's introduce some Hall of Fame people next to you. One, for sure, a member of the Sports Gambling Hall of Fame, highly respected line maker in the gaming industry, back again for a second or third time. Vinny Magliulo, how are you?
Well, it's good to be with you guys. Nice to see you. It's a great crowd. I love these folks, and they always bring them out. By the way, with that story you told, Tommy, you cashed the biggest Super Bowl ticket of all time, so good for you.
Thank you.
Right.
And I know you're looking at my Italian blonde streaks and wondering how many Super Bowls I participated in. So I've either bet or booked every Super Bowl. Now you say, wait a second, you're not quite that old. But so at 8 years old, I was involved because I had some uncles who were very influential in my formative years in terms of understanding, what I refer to as the new math. Now, the good sisters and priests at parochial school did not always agree with my math, but it was the math that I understood. So even though no New York team was in those first Super Bowl III, but the first couple involved a guy from also from Brooklyn by the name of Vince Lombardi. So the family had a vested interest in the Green Bay Packers. So and then of course in my career here in Las Vegas now, which is in its 48th year, I've had the privilege of being involved in this industry. So it's been great.
Two more.
I want to know something. Is that what they call this?
Yeah, exactly. Italian blonde streaks.
Italian blonde streaks.
I'm so happy to know that.
We got 2 more people on the show with us today. Next to Vinny, we have Mike Scalia. He's the Westgate Pick 'em Contest winner, and he delivers Super Bowl spot-on picks for the last few years. Mike, welcome back to the show.
60th Super
You might have to
Bowl.
flip that. Is that switch on the top of the mic? You get flipped off? Other way. There you go. You're on.
It's nice to
There
be.
we go. Yeah, there you go.
It's nice to be with everybody celebrating the 60th Super Bowl, and I just hope it's a real good game and we pick a winner.
And next to you, we have another new member of the Sports Gambling Hall of Fame, longtime sports handicapper and friend of the show, Jeff Whitelaw. Back to the show.
Hey, good. Glad to be here. I was a little late. I was rewatching the Pro Bowl from last night.
Somebody else said you were cashing tickets, which I believe.
That
From the Pro Bowl. Let's get into Super Bowl 60, New England versus Seattle. The line's 4.5, total 45.5. Jim, New England is looking for their 7th Super Bowl win, which would pass the Pittsburgh Steelers for all time, and the first team to make the Super Bowl after losing 13 or more games this season before. What's your thoughts on the Patriots, first of all?
Well, first of all, they've done an amazing. I have to give credit to their owner for managing this team. I mean, I think they've been to like 11 Super Bowls or something like that over the years. It's incredible. Vrabel was a great hire, and I'm sure Tennessee is very upset about that because they let him go. And he's done a great job putting that whole team together and the organization behind it together. I've read how he changed everything there. He got rid of all the yes people that were there for Belichick, and he's made his own culture. And, everybody criticizes them for having they beat the teams that were in front of them, but there was a soft schedule, and everybody kind of downplays that, which is valid. But they beat them. They did well. The last 3 weeks, maybe you can question how lucky they were to end up playing 3 teams that actually weren't that well off health-wise or weather-wise. So that's a lot of stuff that goes into the factoring of handicapping this game, and a lot of people think that's why Seattle's a little bit bigger favorite. So be that as it may, the Patriots are a good, solid team. They deserve to be here, and hats off to them.
Vinny, we got a rematch from 11 years ago, Super Bowl 49 with these two teams. From your side of it, is the public going to look at that much, or are they just going on the line we got today?
No, I don't think so. I mean, obviously, these are completely 2 different teams, Tommy. The personnel are different, so I think people are much more educated today and smarter, right? And, we see so many statistics. This team's history in the Super Bowl and that team's history in the Super Bowl. But the fact of the matter is, there's no recency to base these on. So you can't look at the matchup from that one so far back. So I don't really think so. I think people are looking at this matchup and breaking it down. Jim hit on some key points. Both teams very solid, good, well coached, and good defenses. Quarterback play has been solid. But also you take into consideration from our side of the counter, why are they a 5-point favorite? Well, it's always recent because going into the game, it wasn't going to be a 5-point. We had the matchups going in. But what people see most recent, which was the second game, which was the Seahawks and the Rams game, and what the Seahawks did in that game and how they performed. I also think that they take into consideration the fact that they were in a much more challenging and stronger division. And so I think you put those things together, and that's why this game is sitting at 5. By the way, only one Super Bowl has ever fallen 5, and that was in 1982 when the 49ers beat the Bengals.
From your side, Vinny, how much is the public on the side of the Seahawks over New England?
Actually, we've seen pretty much so far 2 action. At South Point, the game opened 5, Tommy, and went down to 4.5 initially, and now has sat at 5 for the majority of the time. So overall, there's 2 ways. There's another thing from our side of the counter, and I think the folks that are sitting here and anybody that's looking at betting the game will probably take into consideration is the futures. So we're there's the house. I always look at how do we sit with the futures on both of these teams. And remember, both of these teams had some pretty good odds a year ago when we posted the future book. I mean, the Seahawks were 50-1 and went up to 60-1 because there wasn't even a lot of interest at the beginning of the season. They lost their first game, as did the Patriots to the Raiders of all teams. But there are folks out there that have Patriot tickets at 80-1. So you look at that, and so there's a bit of exposure with long shots. There's always more exposure with long shots compared to some to the favorites. So you take that into consideration just a little bit, but you still have to book the game, for what it stands for.
Mike, for you, with the Seattle win, does this push the Seahawks into that upper echelon of teams that have won multiple Super Bowls or not?
I would say so, even though it's, different coach now, different players. You win 2 Super Bowls, yeah, you get up into that. But at first, I really didn't like the matchup because I'm not a fan of either team. But now, the closer it gets, now I'm going to participate. And I think it should be a good game, depending who makes the mistakes and who doesn't. You got to figure the Patriots got a lot of experience with Vrabel and McDaniel. They've been there 9 times for Josh McDaniel. I think that means something. Where Seattle's a little lean in that department. So I give a lot of. I think the X factors are Vrabel and McDaniel. I think the Patriots got a real good shot here, even though Seattle with their defense. But the Patriots' defense is no slouch. And if you're underestimating them, I think it's a mistake. But we'll find out Sunday. I mean, Darnold leads the league with 20 turnovers. That's important.
Yeah, I'm going to get into the defense. And
Okay.
Jeff, over to you. I want to know this because it's a great segue from Mike did. This quarterback matchup between the veteran and Sam Darnold and May, who's only been in the league a couple years. To you, which quarterback is going to feel the most pressure?
Well, I think they're both going to feel a lot of pressure. It's basically their first Super Bowl each, and up until last year, Darnold was basically not having a good career. He had a great year in Minnesota last year when everybody had sort of written him off, and then he fizzled in the playoffs. And then this year he has yet another good year, but this year in the playoffs, he's performed well. And both quarterbacks have minor injuries, or as we wind up seeing a lot of the times, Josh Allen, they're saying has had a broken foot and he's having surgery. Who knows the extent of the shoulder injury to May and the oblique injury to Darnold. But they're not going to say certainly now, but after the season they may say. I think even going back a few years, I think Peyton Manning played a game and he had like a broken something that they told about later. So pressure on both quarterbacks, and again, we don't know the extent of whether or not any of them are a little bit more injured than they're letting on. May has, we talk about Darnold with the turnovers, but May, the last few weeks has fumbled a lot. So again, what boils down to in most of the time in these games is the lack of turnovers. Becomes the key, or the team that turns the ball over the least, winds up winning the game. That which is an interesting prop. The team that turns the ball over least win the game.
Jim, let me go to you then, because sometimes these Super Bowls get determined by special teams, and if it comes down to that, which team has the better advantage?
Seattle has a very good special team situation, and that's probably the reason they beat the Rams. So, in that respect, Seattle, to me, top to bottom, has the better roster. But at this point in the season, when you get this far, you're both good teams. They're both well coached. They got, across the board, this is pretty tight. But if you look at it really carefully, there's an edge, I think, to Seattle in more departments than you have with the Patriots. Now, that doesn't mean that they deserve to be a 5-point favorite. I don't think so. I think it should probably be closer to 3. To me, I like Seattle, but I'm not going for the point spread. I'm going to play the money line on Seattle. That's the way I'm playing it.
So everything you just said then, is it fair for me to estimate that you feel Seattle has the better offense than New England?
I think Seattle is better in all departments, but
Okay.
only slightly. And maybe when you talked about special teams, I think there might be a bigger edge there. And this young man, Shahid, that they got in a trade, is a little bit remarkable. When he gets out there, he gets some space. You're not going to catch him.
Yeah. Vinny, for you, New England's defense has been pretty much dominant here in the last few weeks, but can they contain Jackson Smith?
Yeah, I think they absolutely can, and having 2 weeks to prepare for it, Tommy, is a big help. And I don't think there's, again, I mentioned both coaches, and Vrabel has a bit of an advantage too because he knows what it's like to be in the Super Bowl as a player. So that relationship to his players is going to be important to how he conveys things. Film is a great equalizer too, right? And so now. The question is, can they contain him? Yes, but does that open up an opportunity for somebody else?
Right.
Which that's the chess match that goes back and forth. So these two teams are here because of their quality. And I think Jim brought up a key point with the opening question. These are great organizations. These are not just good teams. In sports, the most successful teams, it starts with ownership, like any other really successful business. And you've got terrific ownership, especially with New England. You've got a great, good, solid GMs and head coach, and they're all in sync. And that's a big part of why these teams are here in this game.
Mike, you brought up the defense in New England. They've been dominant through the postseason. Seattle's defense has been one of the best in the leagues all year. So is this an equalizer? Are they just both equal, or do you like New England's defense better?
I think they're pretty equal. But when you're talking about Smith, well, what New England will do is they'll either double team Cup or double team Smith, and then they'll put Gonzalez on the other receiver. So where's he gonna get all these yards? They're talking about 96 yards or so. I think New England, they're very good against the run, and Seattle has one running back now that Charbonneau's out. It might not have mattered in these playoffs, but I think it's going to matter this Sunday. So, but we'll see. I think Vrabel has the edge with the coaching, and I think that really matters. Him being there, playing, and then McDaniel coaching 9 years, even though it was with Brady. I think it's going to be a big factor.
Jeff, what's your thoughts on the total at 45.5?
Well, I was actually talking to Mike about this, and we both played under in the first half.
Okay.
The first halves have been going under in a lot of these playoff games, and then they open it up a little bit in the second half. But I definitely think there could be a little bit of a feeling out process in the beginning, and I think also that both teams might come out a little conservative in the beginning just to see what's what, and I think the defenses will have a little bit of an advantage over the offenses in that spot, and so I look for a lower scoring first half, and I like that. Not necessarily the game under, but the first half under.
Vinny, are you seeing the public take the over on this?
The public loves points. I mean, initially, the more sophisticated money came in on the under to start with. There hasn't really been a whole lot of movement. I mean, it opened at we opened it at 46. I said 45.5. But the public loves points. Let's face it. The majority of folks will bet this game over. They'll tie it to either whichever side they like to the over. It's funny, Tommy, and they'll bet over in props too, in statistical props and things like that, because they want to root for points. They don't, I'm going to tell you right now, when you see the couple in the stands when they're showing the games, and the wife's got the big B, and then the husband's holding up the white picket fence, I'm going to tell you right now, they're lying. They want points. They bet the over, and they got fantasy. They got fantasy football. They got their fantasy on the line. So trust me when I tell you, the public loves to bet the over.
The husband paints the fence.
The good husband.
The good husband's right.
I can ask.
Yeah, and the good husbands put up the fence too. Jim, what's your thoughts on the total? Is it right?
I think it's a great total. I like an under. I like the first quarter under because they come out, they're going to be tight. You got two quarterbacks that really haven't played in this game. Now, Vrabel in the past have played in the game. They have the offensive coordinator who's been in this game, not as a player, but as an offensive coach. And it's going to be a tight first quarter for sure. Now, can they break out and score a couple touchdowns or a couple field goals and go over this? Yeah, of course. But statistically, I think the first quarter should go under. I think the first half should go under. And unless something else happens, I think the whole game is going to probably go under as well.
Well, you were talking, the whole panel's been talking about the coaching staff in New England. They got a lot of experience, but I've not heard anybody give Mike Macdonald any credit on the other side. Is this a situation where he's being underestimated for his coaching, and maybe he makes the moment a big moment? And we've talked about this many times in the last couple of years on the show, where sometimes in these big games, coaches make bad decisions come down the stretch when they really need to make them. They fold.
We've seen that in the playoffs. We've seen terrible decisions, in my opinion, by coaches, experienced coaches, guys that you'd never think make team decisions like they've made. McDonald's a good coach. Vrabel's a good coach. They're human beings. They can make mistakes. That happens. The quarterbacks are good quarterbacks. They can make mistakes. Anybody can make mistakes. So it's going to come down to, I think, who makes the mistake and who takes advantage of that mistake, because there's going to be mistakes in the game.
Mike, let me go to you. What's your thoughts on Mike Macdonald as a coach?
I think he's gotten better as the season went on. He didn't start out so good, especially in the first game against the Niners way back. But I think if you're going to give edge to the coach, I mean, it's got to be Vrabel, what he did at Tennessee, what he's done with the Patriots in 1 year. But, you know, I mean, and it plays in, like Jim said, the playoffs, there's been some bad decisions.
Yes.
And I, you know, we see them, and you know, we're not coaches, but we can see them after 50 years or so. We've been watching these games, me and Jim. So, but you know, we'll see. If it comes to a critical call, I'd rather see what Vrabel's going to do. He has, you know, all the years with Belichick and all that plays in now. You're talking about McDonald with who? John Harbaugh? No, he's a good coach, but he's not in that class. So, and I think it's a big factor in this game.
Jeff, is Vrabel worth a half a point difference?
You know, it's hard to say what he's worth, but I mean, I don't think there's any question that Vrabel is the better coach. He has way more experience than McDonald. But you know, again, you know, the Seattle does have a little bit stronger of a team. McDonald has called good games. You know, he hasn't made a tremendous amount of mistakes. You know what Jim was talking about too. I think he was alluding a little bit to the Raiders' former coach, Pete Carroll, wasting a down, which actually wasted an entire Super Bowl. You know, the coaches do make a lot of mistakes. I think, though, without question, Vrabel, with what he's done with Tennessee, what he did with New England this year, you know, he has a good offensive coordinator that's been in the Super Bowl before. They both learned under Belichick. I think huge edge to Vrabel in this spot.
Jim, I want to go back to you as we just were handed a photo is that a Super Bowl photo of you?
I'm not speaking about this.
It looks like it was taken yesterday.
Looks like you're in front of a nuclear power plant.
It's at a Super Bowl.
Is that a Super Bowl?
It has at a Super Bowl. And I actually had hair once.
Oh, NCAA Finals, that's from. NCAA Finals.
Yeah, Chipper would know that.
Yeah.
He saves all the stuff.
Yeah,
That's
saves
great.
it all.
Thank you, Chip.
So, Jim, let me go to this. I want to know from the panel, and you can pick either team, but who could be the X factor that makes the big difference that nobody's talking about right now? Either that could be for you, it could be New England or Seattle. I'm going to let everybody on the panel tell me who they think the X factor could be and for what team and why.
Well, I think it can kind of come down to the coach. I mean, they're going to make all the calls and make the adjustments. I mean, who knows where it's at halftime? Who makes the halftime adjustment? Because there's going to be halftime adjustments by each team. I think both coaches are good. I think Vrabel has had a remarkable. He took a team with 4 wins and got them in the Super Bowl the next year. You got to give him a lot of credit. But we'll say that in the last 30 or 40 years, they've played the softest schedule in football for that period of time, and that matters. So we can't excuse that. And Seattle played a much tougher schedule. Their division alone is so much tougher. I mean, who did New England play during the season? It was like only one really tough team, and that was Buffalo. And the rest of their own division, Jets and Miami.
Yeah.
And that's not much. So there's a lot of factors, but you don't know how to put weight on it, and how does it matter in this game. Now, when you look at their defense, I'm just going to point out these last 3 games. And people talk about over the last 3 games, they've only allowed so many points. Well, they played the Chargers with no offensive line, and they murdered Herbert because they just sacked them all the time. The next game they played against Houston, who I think should actually be in the Super Bowl if they had a quarterback, but he gave the ball. I'm talking about Stroud. It was unbelievable. It was an embarrassment that you didn't watch that.
He was playing for New England that day.
He was playing for somebody, but it wasn't his team. And then, of course, last week he easily could have lost that game. And they're playing against a quarterback that hadn't thrown 2 passes in 3 years. So there's been a lot of good fortune for New England. Not taking anything away from what they accomplished, but you do have to look at the factors. And they played in bad weather in 2 of those 3 games. So to me, that matters. And Seattle, on the other hand, played some tough games, and they had to beat the Rams, who was most people thought the Rams were the best team in football most of the year, and they beat them.
Vinny, is there a player you may have in mind? Because sometimes in the Super Bowl, somebody has a big game that nobody's talking about that becomes the big X factor.
Yeah, and it's not unknown. I mean, a couple of guys that I think they're veterans, and I think they're both receivers. I think if you're looking at Seattle, look at Cooper Kupp, who was a Super Bowl MVP, and when you're looking at and then Mike read my mind, Stephon Diggs. So a couple of veterans may very well, who really you haven't heard too much about them this whole week, and I think they're fine with that. That experience, and of course, the fact that they're veterans, I think could there's value there too, right? For whether it's the first touchdown of the game, maybe if you're looking at who could be, come in as the MVP. It's hard to overcome the quarterback for the MVP, but the X factors in the game. We talked about coaching. Yeah, I think, but it's not just the head coach. It's and Jeff pointed this out too. It's the coordinators, right, and special teams. So collectively, what's the coaching staff going to do? At the end of the day, it's on the head coach. Nobody probably made a bigger mistake, than an experienced head coach more recently than Sean Payton. If you listen to his post game, and of course the next day he started firing some of his coaches. But so how this game, while the coaches are going to preach, listen, we have to stick to what got us here. It's up to them to maintain that too, to practice what they preach. I think.
Is it Stephon Diggs for you, Mike?
Well, if you look at the Patriots, I still go back to the coaches. I mean, McDaniels, I think, is going to have some trick plays in this game. He's had some all the time in different games. And I was telling Vinny, the halftime is a different story in this game, and it matters. During the season, the halftime's 12 minutes. Now you're looking at 30. So he's got to keep these young guys composed for Drake May and all these guys. Because if they're composed like he's been most of the season, I think May will have a real good game. But if he lets the big lights and all that bother him, then he might have a real bad game. And that's why I say with Darnold, that with all the turnovers, he's susceptible to a bad game. He's had a good run in these playoffs. And they beat 2 good, well, the Niners were hurt, but the Rams were a good team. I mean, what is he going to do in this game? I mean, I don't know how you could trust the guy. I know he's got to the Super Bowl. He's had 2 good years with a lot of wins. And the Vikings are kicking their that they didn't keep him. So, but I think the factor, Cooper Kupp is the factor on Seattle because he was the MVP and he has a lot of experience. But I don't think those receivers are going to do much. You can tell how much I like the Patriots, but we'll see.
What about you, Jeff?
Well, I mean, again, you have Kupp, but Smith is also has been incredible all
Yep.
season. And you have a shutdown cornerback in Gonzalez. So, they can, do some things to, and I'm sure Vrabel, again, being a defensive minded coach, will be able to make some adjustments. They got 2 weeks, to figure out exactly what to do. They do shut down the run pretty well. Again, two fundamentally solid teams. I think that the number, if anything, is slightly high. Jim made a very valid point that New England did have an extremely soft schedule, but again, they beat everybody ahead of them. That's all you can really ask. And we'll see how this game plays out. Again, what I've said before is the team that commits the least turnovers and makes the fewest mistakes will probably win the game. Both teams, they don't have a lot of penalties. They're pretty disciplined, teams, which again, favors the coaching staffs, for their preparation. The good teams don't beat themselves.
Vinny, this is a game that has more props than you see anywhere else in the entire United States and in the world, basically. What kind of interesting props are out there that are getting people's attention?
Just about every prop, folks. I think when you look at it, and I'll speak to, and we've got sheets here from various places. Obviously, I have the South one here, but folks love the individual player props, and the public looks to bet on those players over typically, and sophisticated players, professionals will look to bet the under. They'll compare prices too. So the public loves to bet, on the coin toss of all things, which is just amazing to think about. But
and also the national anthem length too.
Well, I'll tell you what, we learned an expensive lesson on that.
And what was that, Vinny?
When the game was in Tampa a few years ago, and I have to give this group credit because it was pretty simple. He had a guy out in the parking lot listening to and timing the rehearsals. And then what did he do? He had his outfit just running all over the place. Anybody that posted it to bet it was the over. And so listen, forget the Gatorade. I don't care what color the Gatorade is. As far as I'm concerned, it should be pouring Chianti on this guy.
That's right.
Somebody knows what color the Gatorade is. Somebody knows how long the national. So there's plenty of others. 20 sheets. There's 400 props. But the thing about props, I do want to point out that's important, and we can see it here. And I'm not going to name other locations. Like everything else, we're talking about the game and the number, Tommy. Shop for the best price. Shop for the vigorish as well. South Point, we're using 105 on the side. If you're laying the points or taking the points, 105. That's 5 cents. It adds up. Mm-hmm. Also look at kind of the straddles on the props. Where a pick'em, when we use it is minus a dime both sides. Some places might have minus 15. Now you might like the number better, if it's a total or whatnot. But like everything else, and I encourage people. So I'll never say, listen, you only have to bet here, right? It's like anything else. Go and shop prices. Shop not only the numbers though, but shop for. And I know that Jim and Jeff and Frank are going to have an opinion on that. Shop for the best pricing in terms of the straddles as well, because you're going to spread out your money, and it's worth taking a look at other as many places as possible.
You have any props, Jim?
Yeah, about 10 of them.
What's your favorite prop?
Favorite prop? Well, the first quarter under.
First quarter under.
That's one. First half under. That's two.
Did you bet a team total?
No, I have
Jeff's shaking his head. Yes. What do you got, Jeff?
Well, I know you're going to be shocked at this. I bet under 21.5 minus 30 on New England, and under 25.5 plus 05 on Seattle. Again, leaning towards the under.
By the way, first quarter is 7.5, Jim, on that total, and then the first half is about 22.5, 23.
Mike, you got any props going?
No, I do not, John.
There's a backup player, Polani, I think is his name. Charbonnet's out for Seattle, and I think he's going to get his receiving and pass catching. I think will go over the total. He's going to get a little bit more action because Walker's going to be focused on, and that does happen when you lose a player. The defense then focuses on the star, if he's still in the game, and the other player comes in. He's still a professional player, so I think that will, he will go over. Holani, I don't know how to pronounce it properly, but I think it's Holani.
Mike, you got something to add?
Yeah, Tommy, one that happens a lot that people may not really go with, but will one team score on 3 unanswered times or more? And I played it a few times in the past, and you wouldn't think so, but it happens more than it does not.
Yeah,
That one team will score 3 consecutive times.
it's true.
It seems like a funny one, but if the boys here agree, it's happened way more than the others. So it's one to look at if you're looking for a prop.
You wouldn't think that would cash, but it does more times than not. Like you're right.
Jeff, do you have any other props? Maybe individual players receiving or running backs or over under yardage?
Again, not going into specifics, but I again lean towards the under. So a lot of the things that I played are in terms of yardage towards the unders and all the players. Receptions under, yards under. Obviously, if it's a high-scoring game, it's not going to be good for me. But I think again, New England will shut a lot of these receivers down. With some of these higher things. I did not play Cooper Kupp under, but I played a lot of the other ones under, and like Walker yards under. Keep they think New England will try to make Darnold beat them. So again, leaning towards the unders, which I typically do in a lot of Super Bowls anyway. Is a lot of these numbers are inflated. I mean, maybe by 5-6 yards, and they're playing on grass. So I think a little bit slower of a surface. So again, most of the players leaning towards the unders.
Jim, if this comes down to the kicker and the leg, he's got the better leg.
Is your pizza? We ordered a pizza, didn't we? Did you?
I'm not sure.
Vinny?
Yeah.
Mike?
Seattle.
Jeff's name?
Seattle. Jim, you can be sure.
All right, before we get into their final picks and scores, I know we got a couple questions. You have one here?
I have a prop.
You have a prop. What's your prop?
The prop is at the Superbook.
Okay.
And the prop is total number of different players to have a passing attempt over 2.5 plus 170. I nailed them for over 20,000 right here.
Total number of players to have a passing attempt over 2.5.
And what happened was the other day in the press conference, Cooper Kupp says there's a play designated for me to throw a pass.
Oh, really?
So you nailed the Westgate for that? Thank you.
He's going to your place next.
Chris would find that soft spot.
I did.
Good job.
I did bet $3,000 on your prop that they have to catch the ball. This is just an attempt.
Yeah.
So I did put 3,000 on that.
Hang on, Bernie. Ray, you are next. What do you got?
I like Sam Darnold over 29.5 passing attempts.
Sam Darnold over, what is it? Over what?
Sam Darnold over 29.5.
Over 29.5 passing attempts.
Think about that.
That would figure if you really believe that Seattle's gonna have trouble running the ball against the defense of the Patriots, you would think he will have to pass the ball more. And so that sounds like a sharp bet also, Ray.
Bernie.
Mike Skelly, since you brought up a great point, a prop that's been successful over the years, will the team score 3 consecutive times? To clarify, They don't score in 3 consecutive possessions.
Later.
They score 3 times before the other team scores. That's a distinction to make.
Right.
But it's been solid over the years.
You know,
And on that other thing, the only way he's going to throw the ball 30 times is if they're losing. That goes to Ray's question. If they're winning, why would he throw 30 times?
Jeff, I'm on a lot of unders.
You know, also,
Ray has a lot of props he puts out, so.
also, you know, they do, both teams, you know, will have plays that they put in practice. You know, if for example, Cooper Kupp is telling people in a press conference that there's a play specifically for him to throw, he wouldn't be telling you that if he didn't want to misguide you in things. If there's a play that they're running that they don't want you to know about, you won't know about it until they do it.
Right.
But with that said, both teams will practice, you know, the halfback option or a halfback throw or a wide receiver throw. Whether or not they do it is another story. Whether or not they decide to, but there are, you know, that all the teams will, with the 2 weeks, have some gimmick plays that they'll work on in practice, and whether or not the coordinator actually wants to pull the trigger on it we'll find out Sunday.
will any team pull Sean Payton and be on the 14-yard line and not kick the field goal and go for it on 4th down?
It's another Sean Payton. That tells you how much he's regretting it.
That was a horrible decision, in my opinion.
But you know, I think to Bernie's point, and the guys and everybody in the room is talking about their props. Make sure you understand what the prop involves, and because there are house rules, obviously, but then for props, there's stipulations, you know, that have to come into play. I can't tell you. Last week, a guy comes up to the counter and he's screaming about a teaser, and you know, not everybody has the exact same teaser rules, but particularly if it's a tie. And he's ranting and raving. I said, well, let me see your ticket. He hands me the ticket. I go to look at it, and I'm explaining to him. He goes, no, that's not what happened. I look at the ticket from another place. I said, I'm
sorry, Vinny.
now, Bernie, please, next time you come in, make sure you... No, but seriously, understand. I'm not the commissioner either.
Any other final questions out there? I don't think I see any final questions. All right,
Ray is being too quiet.
here we go. Here's our.
Best and worst coaching changes so far this year from all you guys in case
We're gonna do that next week. We're gonna get all the coaching changes. We got one more quick.
I do have a note. How bad does Tennessee feel losing Vrabel and he's going to the Super Bowl? How bad does Minnesota feel getting rid of Darnold and he's in the Super Bowl? I mean, they have to get some awards for that.
They should.
You know.
Remember what I said about an organization.
I was like Jeff saw my paper here when he was talking about team totals. Because now I want your picks. Mine is I have 24-20 Seattle. When you were talking about team totals, I'm like, it's like you saw my sheet. But I have 24-20 Seattle. What do you have?
Moneyline Seattle.
Vinny.
Don't ask me who I like, ask me who I need, and I'll know that. Ron Sacco knows exactly what I'm talking about. And I'm not hedging by any means, but I will tell you this, in all likelihood, we're probably going to need New England in this game.
Okay. Mike?
23-20 Patriots.
Jeff?
21-17 Seattle.
Ooh. All right. Well, next week we'll be back with 2 more guests, and we're going to break down everything that happened on this Sunday for the Super Bowl. So we'll be back next week right here at noon. We want to thank J-Lore for donating wine. We'll give that away as we normally do. And a round of applause for Jeff Whitelaw, Mike Stelly, and Vinny Magliulo, and Jim